witch named Sabrina Spellman has a nightmare in which she revisits the moment her dad, Edward, gave her to the Dark Lord just after she was born. As she then walks to where she was born, 3 plague kings appear in front of her. Before they can do anything to her, though, Sabrina wakes up. After selecting what she'll be wearing to school, she goes to meet her aunts Zelda and Hilda, as well as her cousin Ambrose. Sabrina then mentions that she's ready to start going to the Academy of Unseen Arts on a full-time basis. She also says it's best to give her mortal friends some space, especially because she just signed the Book of the Beast and could be summoned by the Dark Lord at any time. Sabrina's aunts are shocked by her decision.
What's this about, love?
But they realize that Sabrina has probably decided to fully accept who she is. Shortly after, Zelda resumes her job at the academy and gets introduced to the other instructors. A while later, Sabrina also arrives at the academy and meets a boy named Nicholas, who has a crush on her. As they talk about how she's now ready to become a full student at the school, Nicholas mentions that Sabrina is just in time for one of the school's old traditions, which involves picking a top boy who will be the link between the school management and the students. After reaching the academy's lobby, they see Blackwood calling for volunteers who want to contest for top boy. Only Nicholas comes out at first. But after thinking about it for a while, Sabrina then asks if she can volunteer too. Even though Nicholas seems fine with some competition, Blackwood says it's impossible because only a boy can be elected top boy. Sabrina doesn't like this, and she attacks Blackwood's reasons for wanting a boy to represent the students. Since he's sure she won't win the contest anyway, Blackwood allows her to volunteer.
Dismissed.
He then tells both contestants to be ready for 3 important challenges. Later that day, after school, Zelda tells Sabrina that Edward was top boy when he was a student, and this made it easier for him to become a high priest before he died in a plane crash with Sabrina's mom, Diana. As Sabrina wonders how she'll prepare for the first task, which is an inquisition, Zelda and Hilda tell her to speak to the Academy's librarian, Cassius, to get her some books to read. Before she leaves, Ambrose and his friend Luke tell Sabrina that they're heading to a party at a club owned by a guy named Dorian.
That you had to take it up.
He adds that it's a party celebrating Nicholas's decision to run for top boy. Sabrina then asks if Ambrose and Luke will vote for her if it comes down to an election. While Luke says he'll vote for Nicholas, Ambrose doesn't give a direct answer, and this leaves Sabrina disappointed. She then leaves for the library to meet Cassius, who has already prepared all the books she'll need for the Inquisition. Because it's quite late, Cassius leaves Sabrina alone and tells her to close the library when she's done. After a while, Sabrina suddenly starts hearing a voice outside the library.
Hello?
As she checks who it is, she sees that it's a plague king named Asmodeus, who says he'll unleash his minions on her. Sabrina looks confused, but as he releases his rats to attack her, she quickly finds a spellbook and banishes the demon. Elsewhere, Blackwood attends the warlock party for Nicholas and sends him a strong message to let him know that he has to beat Sabrina convincingly. That night, Sabrina arrives home and reports to Ambrose that she was attacked by a demon at the library.
Considering I was attacked.
Ambrose looks surprised to hear this, but Sabrina says she suspects that Luke or one of the other warlocks is messing with her. However, Ambrose says he's sure no one would do that to her. The next day, Blackwood's daughter, Prudence, asks if she can now take his name since they're entering a new cycle at the Church of Night. However, Blackwood tells her to stop thinking about it because she'll never have his name. Prudence looks disappointed by this, but there's nothing she can do.
No.
Almost immediately, Zelda and Sabrina enter Blackwood's office to report what happened the previous night. Despite the fact that Sabrina didn't have enough time to prepare for the Inquisition because of the attack in the library, Blackwood says she still has to participate because he won't be postponing the challenge. Sabrina is disappointed by this, but as Blackwood leaves the office, Prudence asks if she was really attacked. Sabrina then explains what happened to her, so Prudence says she'll help her during the Inquisition, along with her weird sisters, Dorcas and Agatha.
But he won't keep us both down, Sabrina.
Following this, Sabrina does very well during the Inquisition, and Blackwood is surprised. After the challenge, he calls her to his office and accuses her of cheating. Sabrina immediately denies this, but Blackwood still says he'll seal the Church of Night before the next challenge so that Sabrina won't be able to get outside help. On her way home, Sabrina is attacked by another plague king, but she quickly banishes him, before he hurts her. When she gets home, she complains to Hilda that she thinks someone is trying to sabotage her.
I can't back down.
Hilda then offers to teach Sabrina how to deal with the next challenge. The next day, Sabrina comes up against Nicholas again, but this time she fails the challenge and is forced to drink a weird concoction. After the challenge, Sabrina looks sad, and Hilda suggests going to see her mortal friends at their mortal school named Baxter High.
So come on, if you hurry, you'll make it.
When Sabrina gets there, she's attacked by another Plague King, who ties her up in the basement. Luckily, the new principal, Mary, who is also a witch, sees the Plague King and helps Sabrina banish him before he hurts her. Sabrina sees Mary as a mentor because she has helped her so much since her dark baptism, so she asks about the Plague Kings and the possibility of someone summoning them to make her back down from contesting for the election.
What election is that?
Mary then mentions that since Nicholas is one of the best warlocks in the school, he might be the one summoning the demons. Sabrina is angry about this, so she heads to the school and accuses Nicholas of trying to kill her. However, Nicholas says he doesn't know what she's talking about. As she explains what has been happening, Nicholas and Sabrina conclude that Blackwood might be the one who has been sending the demons to her. During the next challenge, which involves summoning a demon, Sabrina and Nicholas work together and accuse Blackwood of trying to cheat so that a girl won't become top boy. Blackwood doesn't understand what they're saying.
I beg your pardon. What are you accusing me of?
But they still summon the 3 Plague Kings to the Church of Night. When the kings appear, Sabrina asks who sent them to kill her, but they mention that they were working alone. Everyone is shocked by this, but the kings also add that they want to kill Sabrina to stop her from ascending. As Sabrina asks what they mean,
Stopped from doing what?
Blackwood banishes them and orders the 2 contestants to see him in his office. There, he scolds them for trying to embarrass him in front of the other warlocks and witches. He also disqualifies them and names Ambrose the top boy, even though he's not a student. Elsewhere, Mary summons the Dark Lord and complains about how he seems to be making Sabrina more important to his plan than she was previously told. The Dark Lord then confirms that he wants Sabrina to be his herald and queen. Mary is shocked by this because she's Lilith, but the Dark Lord says he has grand plans for Sabrina.
That word means nothing to our kind.
Mary quickly mentions that Sabrina is not worthy and that her nature tends to be towards being a good person. The Dark Lord doesn't sound happy to hear this, but since he can sense jealousy in Mary's words, he decides to strike a wager with her to prove that Sabrina has evil tendencies. Mary says she'd like to be his queen if Sabrina fails his test, and the Dark Lord agrees. Later that night, the Dark Lord appears to Sabrina and tells her that it's time for her to make her dark devotions to him. Sabrina immediately says she won't do it.
I won't do it.
But he says she has no choice because she has already signed the Book of the Beast. As she asks what he wants her to do, he tells her to steal a pack of gum. Sabrina is shocked by this, and in the morning, while having breakfast with her family, she tells them that the Dark Lord wants her to do something bad. As she says she doesn't want to do it, Zelda mentions that she can't refuse the Dark Lord's request. She adds that if Sabrina doesn't do it, bad things will happen to her and those around her. Following this,
No. Never mind.
Sabrina heads to a store to steal a pack of gum, but before she leaves, Mary sees her and convinces her not to steal it. Elsewhere, Blackwood appoints Zelda as the director of the Academy's play about Lucifer. During the rehearsals for the play, Dorcas is selected to play Lilith alongside Nicholas, who acts as Lucifer. Sabrina doesn't get a big role in the play, but she seems quite jealous that Nicholas will spend more time with Dorcas. She also believes Dorcas isn't good enough for the role.
Dorcas is a terrible actress.
So the Dark Lord appears to her again and suggests killing the girl so that she'll get to act as Lilith. However, Sabrina refuses to do it. After a while, Nicholas convinces her to help him practice his lines. She agrees to do so, but during the process, she starts choking on an apple and eventually sees the Dark Lord appearing before her. Luckily, Sabrina is saved, and Hilda gives her a drink to make her feel better. Sabrina then asks Hilda if she had to do something for the Dark Lord.
It was the Dark Lord.
And she says that he once made her do something harmless just to prove her loyalty. She also tells Sabrina to distract herself by spending time with her mortal friends. Following this, Sabrina heads to Baxter High and meets her best friend Rosalind, hanging out with her ex-boyfriend Harvey. Sabrina doesn't seem to care, and she greets both of them. When she joins the class, the teacher assigns her a partner for the play.
I'm sure Mrs. Curtis can pair me up with someone.
But But while she looks jealous of Rosalind, the Dark Lord appears to her and suggests taking Harvey for herself. Sabrina doesn't do this, and later that day, she goes to the locker room and meets her other best friend, Theo. He looks happy to see her, but mentions that he's still getting bullied by a boy named Billy and his goons. Sabrina then gives him a rope charm to make Billy trip himself. Theo looks happy about this, but she suddenly sees a claw mark on Sabrina's body. Sabrina freaks out and immediately goes to see Mary to ask what it means. Mary then tells her that it's the Dark Lord's claw mark, which shows his hold over her. She adds that every witch has it, but it's not as visible as the one on Sabrina's body. Sabrina then asks for advice on what to do regarding the Dark Lord's demands.
Is there a way to trick him?
So Mary suggests doing what's good. When she gets home, she asks Ambrose for ways she can keep the Dark Lord away, so he tells her to eat raw onions. She does this. But when she wakes up the next morning, she sees that the claw mark has gotten bigger. She immediately goes to see Mary, so the principal tells her that the Dark Lord probably still got to her because she did a spell recently. Sabrina realizes that the rope charm is how the Dark Lord got to her, but before she can take it from Theo, he uses it to trip Billy so he can break his leg. That night, Sabrina returns home to see that her spiritual cat, Salem, is dead.
Salem.
Since the Dark Lord is responsible for this, Sabrina finally agrees to do what he wants. However, he says he now wants her to burn Baxter High. Sabrina is shocked by this, but she agrees to do it. Before she sets the school on fire, though, the Dark Lord stops her and says she already passed his test. The next day, the Dark Lord rewards Sabrina by making her play the role of Lilith alongside Nicholas. Elsewhere, the Dark Lord appears to Mary to gloat about winning the wager. However, he mentions that since Mary seems lonely,
You're so lonely.
he'll resurrect her spiritual pet bird, Stolas. Mary is happy about this, but after the Dark Lord leaves, she tells Stolas that she'll never let Sabrina take her rightful place as queen. The next day, on Valentine's Day, Nicholas asks Sabrina to be his date, and since she already likes him, she agrees. Elsewhere, Mary's real fiancé, Adam, shows up at her office, saying he's on a long break at work. Since the body is now being controlled by Lilith, Mary doesn't know who he is.
What to say?
But she still manages to accept him because he's a really nice person who loves her. Meanwhile, Blackwood proposes marriage to Zelda, and even though she's happy about it, she tells Hilda that she doesn't love the priest. She adds that she'll only be his wife because of the power that comes with the role. Hilda also tells Zelda about how she discovered that her love interest, Dr. C, has a demon inside him. Since she still loves him, Zelda teaches her how to keep his demon in check anytime they're together.
I don't love Faustus.
Later that day, Nicholas's jealous spiritual wolf escapes from the cage she has always been in. Since Sabrina might be in danger because the wolf never wants anyone close to Nicholas, he says he'll kill it. A few hours later, he shows Sabrina the wolf's heart and looks sad to have killed his friend. However, it turns out that he's lying, and as the wolf is about to attack Sabrina, she kills it. Nicholas then says sorry for lying to Sabrina, but she tells him that she's not pissed. Elsewhere, Rosalind suddenly loses her eyesight while in Harvey's house, even though it's something she has been expecting for a while because of a curse that was placed on the women in her family by witches. Rosalind looks terrified. The next day, a fortune teller named McGarvey gets stuck inside Dr. C's store because of the heavy rain outside. Since she has no money to buy anything, she offers to pay for her stay by doing a free tarot card reading for interested customers. Hilda and Dr. C are happy to let her do it.
Do a reading in the store?
So they set her up in a corner of the store. Shortly after, Sabrina and Nicholas enter the store, arguing about how he was late to the movies. Hilda sees this and tells Sabrina to calm down. She also advises her to let McGarvey read a tarot card to her. Sabrina agrees to do this, so she meets McGarvey and mentions that she doesn't know if she can trust Nicholas anymore since he lied to her about killing the wolf.
Should I trust him?
She also adds that since she started going out with him, she has always felt like she was going down a dark path. McGarvey then asks what she wants, so Sabrina says she'd like to know if she can trust Nicholas. McGarvey immediately draws out some cards and makes Sabrina see a vision of Nicholas using her for his magic tricks. While this is happening, Prudence messes with the trick so that Nicholas won't be able to save Sabrina from floating into space. Unfortunately, Sabrina eventually gets frozen and dies. After seeing the vision, McGarvey tells Sabrina that she can always trust Nicholas.
Sabrina, I found the coolest thing. You have to come see it.
A few minutes later, Rosalind comes in with her father, and while she's seated as he shops for a book, McGarvey goes to meet her. She then mentions that she knows that Rosalind's blindness has made it possible for her to see visions of the past and future. Rosalind wonders how McGarvey knows this, but the old woman only asks if she wants a free tarot card reading. Rosalind then mentions that she wants clarity regarding a decision she needs to make regarding her blindness. Following this, McGarvey draws out her cards and makes Rosalind see a vision of how her eye surgery will be successful. After a while, she'll then start volunteering to help blind people. On her first day, though, she is attacked by a girl who says her eyes were taken to make Rosalind see again. Rosalind looks terrified by this, and as she returns to reality, McGarvey tells her not to be scared because she can avoid that future by refusing to do the surgery.
You still have a choice to make.
When her dad then comes over to pick her up so they can leave, Rosalind tells him that she no longer wants the surgery. After a while, Zelda visits the store to scold Hilda for delaying the process of making the cake for her wedding. Hilda then says she'll still do it, but since Zelda seems tense, she advises her to see McGarvey. Zelda initially refuses to do it, but as McGarvey shows her a card where she gets to become queen, she looks happy and sits. McGarvey then shows her a vision in which her attempt to tell Blackwood about the child she stole from him would ruin her marriage. Zelda looks shocked, but before she leaves Dr. C's store, McGarvey tells her that she must keep the secret from Blackwood forever. Shortly after, Harvey visits the store and requests a tarot card reading from McGarvey. During his visions, he sees himself arriving at a new school in a different town where he wants to study to become a great artist. Unfortunately, he ends up having a roommate who constantly keeps seeing visions of the demon Harvey saw in the mines as a kid. After a while, his roommate eventually kills himself.
Go back to sleep now.
And this leads Harvey to find a room leading to a shadow realm. As he returns to reality, McGarvey tells Harvey that he doesn't need to leave the town because he'll eventually find his true calling there. Harvey looks confused by this, but he thanks her and leaves. Shortly after, Ambrose arrives at the store and requests a tarot card reading. He then asks what the future holds for him and Luke. As she opens two cards, Ambrose gets a vision in which he sees Blackwood inviting him to be part of a secret club called the Judas Society. For his first task, he is then asked to shape an instrument that he'll use to kill his family. After he does this, Ambrose returns to reality and asks McGarvey how the vision relates to him and Luke. She doesn't say anything about this, but as she looks at his last card and says she can't let him see it, he drags it from her. After seeing the content,
Give it to me.
he runs out of the store furiously. McGarvey then tells Hilda and Dr. C that she'll now be leaving because the rain has stopped. Meanwhile, Ambrose runs to meet Blackwood to ask if he would ever hurt his family since he has already joined the Judas Society. Blackwood then says he'll never do that. Before Ambrose leaves, though, Blackwood informs him that he has just gotten a message that Luke was killed while running an errand for him. Ambrose is shocked by this, and as he checks the tarot card he stole from McGarvey, it turns out that it symbolizes death. Elsewhere, McGarvey arrives home, but she eventually turns out to be Mary. She then tells Stolas that she has had a productive day planting doubts in the minds of Sabrina's friends and family. She also says she plans to bring Sabrina close to fulfilling an old prophecy that will usher in the return of the Dark Lord in human form. Since it's the only way she might get to kill him and become the sole queen of hell, Mary decides to manipulate Sabrina into doing more things that will push her toward fulfilling the prophecy. Following this, Mary transforms into Edward and appears to Sabrina, who believes she can see her father's ghost.
I think that's the ghost of my father.
Mary then uses Edward to tell Sabrina that Blackwood caused the crash that killed him and Diana. He adds that Sabrina needs to stop Blackwood from marrying Zelda because he'll kill her too. Sabrina believes this, and as she leaves to tell Nicholas what happened, Mary looks happy because the girl will now be able to bring down the Church of Night. When Sabrina returns home, she calls for a family meeting and tells Zelda not to marry Blackwood because of what her father said. However, she believes Sabrina is lying and dismisses her suggestion. A while later, Ambrose tells Sabrina that he believes Blackwood is dangerous because, during his tarot card reading, he saw the priest convincing him to kill his family. Since it's obvious that Blackwood is trying to bring down the family, Sabrina says she'll have to speak to Mary to determine her next line of action.
But I know someone who can help me put the pieces together.
When they meet, Sabrina tells Mary about what her father told her earlier. Mary then suggests that Blackwood is dangerous. She adds that while working with Edward, he came up with new plans for the Church of Night, but before he could give them to the anti-pope, he died in the plane crash. Interestingly, Blackwood recently talked about his new plans for the Church of Night, and this makes Sabrina realize that he might have killed her father because of it. Mary then tells her where to find a copy of Edward's proposal.
Well, then your parents would not have died in vain.
So she gets help from Nicholas to retrieve it. After they read it, they discover that Edward's proposal contained points meant to promote the marriage of witches and warlocks to mortals. He also wanted women to have more power and take up big roles in the Church of Night. Since this is against all that Blackwood preaches, Sabrina says they must find a way to stop the priest from sharing his ideas with the anti-pope who is coming for Zelda's wedding.
Ambrose, we need to stop Blackwood.
Elsewhere, Blackwood announces his philosophies to the warlocks in his Judas Society. Most of the points relate to making witches serve warlocks while ensuring they maintain total control of the Church of Night. After the announcement, Blackwood assigns Ambrose as one of the guards who will protect the anti-pope when he arrives. Shortly after, the anti-pope arrives at the academy and greets all the students. When he gets to Sabrina and hears her name,
Oh, child.
he says he knew her father and that it was rather unfortunate to see him die before he could share his manifesto. When the anti-pope meets Prudence, she expects Blackwood to introduce her as his daughter, but he says she's just a random student, and this gets her pissed. Later that night, Blackwood tells the anti-pope about his philosophies and requests a referendum to review the universal witch laws. Just as the anti-pope talks about how Edward also wanted the same thing, Sabrina barges in and brings her father's work with her. Blackwood is extremely shocked by this, but as she presents the manifesto to the anti-pope,
Will you read my father's words?
he says he'll consider both documents and inform them of his decision the next day. Meanwhile, Mary grows quite fond of Adam, but the Dark Lord suddenly appears to her and calls the mortal a distraction she needs to get rid of. Later that night, while Prudence is about to kill Blackwood, he wakes up and hears someone screaming. He doesn't say anything about what Prudence was about to do, but he quickly runs out and sees that the anti-pope has been killed by Ambrose and the two other boys guarding him. Almost immediately, Blackwood kills the two boys, but before he can get to Ambrose, he disappears. Ambrose then meets Nicholas and Sabrina to inform them that he didn't kill the anti-pope. Since Sabrina trusts him, she tells Nicholas to find a place to hide Ambrose before Blackwood and his men arrive at the house to look for him. Nicholas does just this and takes Ambrose to hide at Dorian's place. Luckily, he's not found there, but as he seems really weak,
Ambrose. There.
Ambrose suddenly vomits a mouse, which was his spiritual pet. Ambrose is shocked by this, but Dorian says it's likely that the mouse entered his body and controlled him to kill the anti-pope. Ambrose then remembers that the mouse was a gift from Blackwood, who had a reason to kill the anti-pope because the man was never going to pick his manifesto over Edward's proposal. Dorian also mentions that most of Blackwood's boys, like Luke, always turn up dead because he puts them in danger.
Every warlock I've known to get close to Blackwood winds up dead.
As Ambrose hears that Blackwood likely killed his friend, he says he'll get revenge and kill the priest. Elsewhere, Blackwood checks Zelda's house for Ambrose, but doesn't find him. Despite this, he tells Zelda to return to the academy with him so they can still get married while preparing to bury the anti-pope. Sabrina doesn't think this is right, but Blackwood doesn't seem to care. Zelda also follows him back, and this makes Sabrina look worried because her aunt is making a mistake. Meanwhile, Blackwood commends Prudence's bravery in trying to kill him, so he finally allows her to have his name.
Prudence Blackwood.
Much later, Sabrina tells Nicholas that they can still try to prove that Blackwood is dangerous. She then comes up with a plan, and they disrupt the wedding while pretending to be Edward and Diana. Unfortunately, Blackwood realizes that it's them, and after they change to their normal selves, Sabrina accuses him of killing her parents and the anti-pope. Blackwood immediately dismisses this,
And why would I have done that?
saying she has no proof. Just then, Ambrose appears in the church and tries to kill Blackwood, but he's immediately stopped and taken to the witch's cell. After a while, Zelda expresses her disappointment at how Sabrina embarrassed the family. However, Sabrina says she's proud of it because she got to stop her aunt's wedding. Zelda laughs at this and says that she has already gotten married to Blackwood in his office. She adds that Sabrina and Nicholas have been expelled from the school.
Faustus and I were just married in his office.
Shortly after, Blackwood and Zelda leave for their honeymoon, and the priest puts Prudence in charge of the academy in his absence. Elsewhere, Mary decides to keep Adam with her because she likes how he treats her. She also gives him a special protection ring, which she tells him never to take off. The next day, Sabrina begs Prudence to let her into the school to see Ambrose, but she says she can't because the girl has been expelled. Before she leaves the academy's gates, Sabrina sees a boy named Quentin, who tells her that even though Ambrose is fine, the weird sisters are already planning to torture him. Sabrina immediately heads home to tell Hilda to do something about it, and she says she'll do her best. Since Sabrina can no longer go to the academy, she heads to Baxter High and realizes that Rosalind is now being isolated in the library because of her blindness. Sabrina doesn't like this, so she tells Mary to do something about it, but she says she can't do anything because it was Rosalind's idea to stay in the library.
I'm not really welcome there anymore.
She then tells Sabrina that if she wants to help her friend, she can give her a comforting spell or even restore her sight. After Mary leaves, Sabrina tells Rosalind about the possibility of using her powers to restore her eyesight, but she and Harvey refuse to let her do it. They also accuse Sabrina of likely having a hand in Rosalind's blindness since she's also a witch. Sabrina cannot believe this, and she leaves the school angrily. However, she's unaware that an angelic witch hunter named Jerathmiel is watching her. It then turns out that 2 weeks ago, Jerathmiel caught Luke in the woods and got him to reveal the location of all the other witches and warlocks in the town. After Luke mentions that Jerathmiel won't be able to get into the academy because only the hand of a witch or warlock can open the door, his hand is cut off and he is killed afterward. With this, Jerathmiel locates the town and decides to get all the evil people to repent before killing them. Meanwhile, the weird sisters send a demon to torture Ambrose inside his cell. Shortly after, Hilda brings a bowl of turkey for Ambrose, but Prudence still doesn't let her in.
My father forbids it.
Hilda then says she doesn't care about the turkey and that she just wants to see how Ambrose is doing. She adds that she knows the weird sisters might torture Ambrose by eating the turkey and feeding the bones to him. Prudence gets an idea from this and she agrees to give the turkey to Ambrose. However, when she takes it, she and her sisters eat it before pouring the bones into Ambrose's cell while saying his aunt's turkey is the best. After they leave, Ambrose starts checking the bones, and it turns out that Hilda actually carved one of the bones to look like a key so that he can use it to get out. Elsewhere, Sabrina sees Nicholas at Dorian's club, but he doesn't seem interested in talking to her because he has turned to drinking as a way to deal with his expulsion. A while later, Jerathmiel visits Sabrina's house and offers to preach the gospel to her, but she says she's not interested.
We already have a faith.
He then asks if she can give him drinking water, so she lets him come in. Meanwhile, as Rosalind is working on an assignment with Harvey, she gets a vision and sees Jerathmiel killing Sabrina. Almost immediately, she tells Harvey to call Sabrina, and when she finally gets to speak to her friend, she tells her to run away from the house before Jerathmiel kills her. Sabrina then sees Jerathmiel pulling out his knife, but she quickly runs away and seals the house. However, he eventually breaks the door and escapes. Elsewhere, another witch hunter goes to Dr. C's store to attack Hilda, but she quickly unleashes Dr. C's demon to chase the hunter away. At Dorian's place, a witch hunter shoots Dorian with an arrow. Before he then kills Nicholas, Dorian magically gets better and attacks the hunter. Instead of killing him immediately, Nicholas tells Dorian that they can get more information from the hunter.
At least not until he tells us everything.
Shortly after, Sabrina goes to find Hilda at the store. Nicholas also joins them there, and he says sorry to Sabrina for how he acted earlier. He then tells Sabrina and Hilda that the witch hunters are headed to the academy to kill everyone there. Meanwhile, Jerathmiel and another hunter arrive at the academy just as Ambrose is about to escape. He then quickly shouts for the others to run. However, the weird sisters wait behind to fight the witch hunters. Unfortunately, the hunters are too powerful for them, and they nearly die after being tortured, while Sabrina, Nicholas, and Hilda are planning what to do. Harvey comes to the house to ask what's happening. After Sabrina tells him about the witch hunters, he offers to help, but Nicholas doesn't support this. Sabrina then tells them to wait behind while she goes to stop the witch hunters, since she has the advantage of being half mortal. Shortly after, Jerathmiel kills a witch and warlock who refuse to repent and renounce the Dark Lord. Before he kills more, Sabrina enters the Church of Night and challenges him to stop. However,
Never.
he shoots her with his arrows and kills her, leaving Prudence and the others shocked. As Jerathmiel is about to kill the others, Sabrina suddenly wakes up and levitates like an angel. She then tells Jerathmiel and his colleague to kneel before her. After this, she also makes them recite the Dark Lord's prayer before burning them alive. Sabrina then resurrects the students killed by Jerathmiel. Prudence is shocked, and the other students who witness this are left speechless. As Harvey arrives at the church, he sees Sabrina and looks surprised, but she then falls down injured. Elsewhere, Mary decides to leave town with Adam, but while they're having dinner,
This roast is delicious.
she sees the ring she gave him in her food. As she wonders how it got there, the Dark Lord appears to her and informs her that he has already killed Adam. He then mentions that he'll never let her go anywhere. After he leaves, Mary looks devastated. But as she wonders how the Dark Lord knew about her plans to escape with Adam, she realizes that Stolas probably told him. Almost immediately, she then burns him to ashes. Elsewhere, Sabrina is taken to the academy so she can get help from Hilda, who is also struggling to save Ambrose because he got stabbed badly by the witch hunters. As Hilda cries that nothing she does for Ambrose is working, Sabrina suddenly heals herself and walks over to heal her cousin. Hilda and everyone present are shocked, and they don't know what to say.
You look like Dark Phoenix.
The next day, while they're having breakfast, Ambrose thanks Sabrina for helping him. He and Hilda then ask how she's doing, but she says she's fine. They also seem quite worried that everything she has been doing is not ordinary, but she says there's really nothing wrong with her. Since the rain is still falling, Hilda tells her to stay home to rest. But surprisingly, Sabrina stops the rain and says she's going to Baxter High to see her friends. When she gets there, she thanks Rosalind for helping her. She also says sorry for trying to use a spell to restore her friend's eyesight.
Roz, you saved my life.
However, Rosalind says she now wants it because her dad is considering sending her to a school for the blind. Following this, Sabrina says she can do it without using her spells because she has tapped into a different kind of energy. She then takes Rosalind into the restroom, and there she helps her friend restore her sight by just washing her face with water. Rosalind thanks her for this, and as the friends look happy, Hilda shows up and tells Sabrina that they have to leave because Blackwood has returned with the church's council of elders. They then leave immediately
I guess I'll see you later.
and see Zelda also back from her honeymoon. Shortly after, Blackwood accuses Sabrina of using some kind of trick to perform the miracle she has been doing. As he asks her to reveal her secret, Sabrina says he should be thanking her. Following this, the head of the council, Methuselah, thanks Sabrina for saving the witches and warlocks. He also says that she and Nicholas can return to the academy, while Ambrose should be taken to his cell until a decision is reached on what to do with him. Hilda then tells Zelda that they need to talk, but surprisingly, she takes permission from her husband first.
Fine.
After a while, Sabrina tells Nicholas that she thinks her new abilities are because she's half mortal, half witch. She adds that it's probably why Edward wanted to introduce reforms to make mortals mingle with witches and warlocks. As she says, she'll need to spread the word regarding her dad's reforms. The resurrected witch and warlock from the other day sit down with them to discuss Sabrina's interest. Meanwhile, Hilda starts telling Zelda about everything that has been happening, but she soon realizes that her sister is under a spell, which will make her only obedient to her husband. The next day, Methuselah announces that Ambrose will be executed. Sabrina cannot believe this, and she accuses Blackwood of killing the anti-pope by using the pet he gave Ambrose. Blackwood immediately denies this, but Methuselah mentions that if she can provide evidence of what she's talking about, Ambrose's sentence will be overturned. After she leaves, though, Blackwood tells Methuselah that Sabrina should also be killed if she interferes with Ambrose's execution using her tricks. Meanwhile,
The very council itself.
Sabrina goes to Dorian's place to check the trash for the mouse. After she gets it, she resurrects it with her powers, and this shocks Dorian. When she and Nicholas leave, Dorian then calls Blackwood to inform him that Sabrina has found the mouse. Following this, he instructs Zelda to go home to destroy the mouse. As she gets there, Zelda grates the mouse so that it can't be resurrected again. When Sabrina and Hilda see her, they look surprised and wonder why she did it. Hilda then remembers that Zelda is under a spell, so they work together to destroy it. Almost immediately, Zelda returns to her senses and tells Sabrina and Hilda that Blackwood is a bad person whose goal is to topple their family. Since they won't let Ambrose get executed, Hilda and Zelda promise to help him.
Well, why does Blackwood want me to show the council?
Zelda also mentions that she'll have to keep staying with Blackwood so he won't suspect that she's no longer under his spell. Later that night, during Ambrose's execution, Hilda and Zelda use their spells to decapitate the executor. Blackwood is shocked by this, and he believes Sabrina had something to do with it. As he shouts at her and tells her to replace the executor, the Dark Lord appears in the church and tells the council to release Ambrose. He also scolds Blackwood for trying to interrupt him. After he disappears, Ambrose is released, and his family is happy about it. Sabrina then tells Nicholas that she plans to unite the witches and mortals at a party in her house,
We should celebrate.
where she can show them her powers so they'll believe her. Nicholas agrees to help by inviting some witches and warlocks to the party, and Sabrina thanks him for this. She also invites Rosalind to join her at the party because Theo and Harvey are nowhere to be found. It then turns out that after following his dad to the mines, Harvey heard a woman's voice coming from a sealed corner. He then tells Theo about it because, in one of his great-grandfather's journals, there was an entry about a woman in the mines who was guarding something. Together, Theo and Harvey then decide to go there to check if there's really someone there. After they enter the sealed corner, Theo and Harvey are attacked by an albino witch. Before she hurts them, Theo kills her with an axe. Elsewhere, Sabrina decides to fall from the top of her house to show the guests at her party that she can levitate, even though Ambrose and Hilda warn her not to do it. Because there are mortals at the party, Sabrina refuses to listen. However, before she falls, Theo and Harvey show up and tell her to come down because she needs to see something. Since it seems quite urgent, Sabrina follows them to the tunnel with Rosalind and Nicholas. When they get there, they then see that the albino witch was guarding a painting, which shows a prophecy. As Harvey asks what it means,
What is this?
Sabrina sees herself in the middle of the painting and says that she thinks she's the herald of hell who will bring about the apocalypse. They all then go to Dr. C's shop to talk, and while they're there, Rosalind tells Sabrina not to assume the worst. However, she says it's impossible for her not to do that because the painting has existed for hundreds or thousands of years. She eventually borrows Harvey's drawing of the painting and leaves with Nicholas. As they talk about what to do, Sabrina suggests seeing Mary. When they get to her house, Mary says the painting suggests that Sabrina is the herald of hell. Sabrina is not happy about this, but as she mentions that she now has new powers, Mary says the only way she can stop the prophecy from happening is if she surrenders her powers. Nicholas disagrees with this because it will make Sabrina a full mortal, but Mary says it's what she should do. She also advises Sabrina to use a mandrake spell to create a twin who will get her powers and eventually be killed.
Divest yourself of these powers.
After they leave, Mary calls on a scarecrow she just made with her broken rib. She then tells him to follow Sabrina and kill her when she's vulnerable. Meanwhile, Nicholas tells Sabrina not to do anything rash because he'll spend time in the library to find anything that can help her. Sabrina thanks him for this, but when she enters the house, she tells Ambrose to help her with the mandrake spell. Ambrose initially says he can't do it because she'll lose her powers, but Sabrina begs him to help because she doesn't want to be the reason for the death of many people on Earth. Shortly after, Ambrose decides to help her. Unfortunately, the spell doesn't work when she wakes up in the morning, so Ambrose suggests trying something else together. When they leave the house, though, another Sabrina shows up and looks excited to be alive. She then gets Hilda to prepare her favorite food for breakfast. While she eats strangely, Hilda suspects that something is wrong with her, but she doesn't say anything. Elsewhere, Blackwood unveils a new statue in the Academy and renames the Church of Night as the Church of Judas.
We are now the Church of Judas.
After giving out the rules for his new church, Prudence meets him to ask why witches are no longer allowed to perform major spells. Blackwood then mentions that they're supposed to serve the warlocks instead. He adds that witches can still do basic spells. Prudence doesn't think this is a good idea, but Blackwood tells her that if she gets all the witches to follow his doctrine, he'll ensure she's exempted from the rules. After a while, a girl named Elspeth is caught trying to leave the Church of Judas to find Sabrina, so Blackwood says she'll have to be killed. While still pretending to be under a spell, Zelda tells Blackwood to be lenient, so he tells his boys to take Elspeth to the witch's cell. Shortly after, Zelda sneaks in to give Elspeth some food, but Prudence catches her. Zelda then tells Prudence that if they don't do anything about Blackwood's new rules, all the witches in the church will be killed. Prudence still says she'll report to her father, so Zelda threatens to report her for helping to kidnap Blackwood's daughter.
His only wish is to subjugate us.
With this, Prudence decides to be silent, but after a while, she changes her mind and tells Blackwood about the kidnapped baby. Zelda is shocked by this, but she says she only took the baby to protect her. As Blackwood tells his boys to take her to the cell, she threatens to kill Prudence if she's not given the baby. However, Blackwood says he doesn't care because he has another baby. With this, Zelda shows Prudence that she's worth nothing to him. Shortly after, Prudence then helps Zelda escape. Elsewhere, Sabrina's mandrake visits her friends and gets angry when they disagree with her. She then kidnaps them and tries to make mandrakes using their bodies. On her way to check on the mandrakes, Blackwood's boys stop her, thinking she's the real Sabrina. As they mention that Blackwood sent them to kill her, the mandrake kills them all. Before she gets to the mandrakes she just made, Theo gets a vision from her ancestor, who tells her to wake up and destroy the puppets. Following this, Theo destroys the mandrakes and wakes her friends. As they then wonder if the Sabrina that attacked them is really her, they see the mandrake heading for them, so they run away. Elsewhere, Sabrina returns home and finds Nicholas waiting to show her the things he found. She says she needs to head to her room first, but while she's alone, Mary's scarecrow attacks her. Luckily, Nicholas hears this and runs to help her. As the scarecrow seems really strong, Sabrina sees a rib inside it, so she removes it. This gets the scarecrow killed, and as she shows the rib to Nicholas, he says someone is trying to kill her.
I didn't work.
After a while, Nicholas shows Sabrina everything he found in the library about the prophecy. He then mentions that some of the things leading to it are for her to perform an exorcism, resurrect a dead person, cure a blind person, and perform a set of miracles. Sabrina is shocked to hear this, but she remembers that Mary advised her to do nearly all the things required for the prophecy. Following this,
But I've done all those things.
she and Nicholas run to Mary's house to accuse her of working for the Dark Lord to make her fulfill the prophecy. Before she does anything, Nicholas uses a spell to weaken her using her broken rib. As Sabrina then asks for her mandrake, Mary says she doesn't know where it is. Nicholas then asks what to do with her, so Sabrina suggests holding her down until she can find her mandrake. Elsewhere, Sabrina's mandrake cries at home while complaining to Ambrose about how her friends were killed. As she talks strangely, Ambrose realizes that she's not his cousin.
Please, cousin, don't say no to me.
Just then, the real Sabrina enters the house, so the mandrake threatens to kill her. Since Sabrina no longer has any powers, Ambrose stops the mandrake from fighting with her powers. He then suggests making them compete in the woods with a gun to decide who gets to live. The mandrake agrees to do this, and Ambrose looks relieved. Meanwhile, Mary tells Nicholas to read the notes he found on the prophecy.
What does it say about Sabrina?
As he does so, he mentions that the miracles Sabrina was able to do are part of the prophecy meant to mock the miracles Jesus did. He also mentions that the last thing Sabrina must do is to perform a sacrifice. Mary sounds shocked to hear this, and she says they need to stop Sabrina from killing the mandrake. As Nicholas asks what she means, Mary mentions that since the last thing Jesus did was to die on the cross, Sabrina will end up completing the prophecy by killing her mandrake, who can currently be mistaken for her. Elsewhere, Ambrose brings the two Sabrinas to the woods and makes them count steps before taking a shot.
May the best Sabrina win.
Luckily, Sabrina sneaks up on her mandrake and kills her before they count the complete steps. Sabrina eventually feels sad about this, but as she's consoling her mandrake, Nicholas and Mary run to inform her that by killing her doppelganger, she has completed the prophecy. Almost immediately, lightning strikes the rock behind them, and Mary mentions that the Dark Lord will now walk the earth in his true form, after which he'll make Sabrina his bride so that they can rule together.
That was the last step.
Sabrina eventually heads home and tells her aunts about this. They're all shocked to hear this, but they mention that they won't let the Dark Lord take her. Following this, they start setting up protection materials around the house. While they're at it, Sabrina's friends come over to check up on her. They also ask about the mandrake, but she explains that it wasn't her. She then tells them that they need to stay safe because the Dark Lord is around and will be opening the gates of hell.
Actually, yeah, that's probably exactly where they are.
Since it could be in the mines, Harvey suggests going there. And as Sabrina approves this, Rosalind and Theo also agree to join him in ensuring the gates remain closed. Shortly after, Mary meets the Dark Lord at Dorian's club, and he tells her to bring Sabrina to him. Mary immediately goes to Sabrina's house, but her aunts stop her from coming close. Before they try to hurt her, though, Mary mentions that they need to be careful because she's not just any witch. As she announces herself as Lilith, they're all surprised.
You're Lilith?
And Sabrina agrees to follow her to see the Dark Lord to get the answers she wants. Before they get there, Blackwood is summoned to see the Dark Lord, so he takes Prudence with him. When they get to Dorian's club, the Dark Lord accuses Blackwood of treating Sabrina badly. Blackwood then tries to defend himself, but the Dark Lord scolds him and says he'll soon bow to Sabrina. Blackwood doesn't like this, but when he leaves, he lies to his congregation and tells them that the Dark Lord is proud of him. Prudence is shocked to hear this, and she wonders why he's lying. Blackwood then tells everyone in his congregation to celebrate by drinking from the unholy communion. Elsewhere, Rosalind uses her powers to locate the gates of hell. When she and the others find where it is, she touches the gate and gets visions of different sigils, which she believes might keep the gates locked. Following this, she makes Harvey see what she saw so that he'll be able to draw the sigils and place them near the gate to keep it closed. A while later,
See what I see.
Sabrina finally meets the Dark Lord, who says he has waited so long for someone who would be perfect to rule alongside him. Sabrina asks why he didn't pick Lilith, but he says she's only meant to serve. He then tells Sabrina that she'll help him blow the horn to open the gates of hell so that the demons there will attend her coronation. He adds that they'll end the ceremony by dancing together. Sabrina says she won't do it.
Sorry, but I have school.
But the Dark Lord says it's funny that all her efforts to avoid him only brought her closer to the prophecy. He also boasts about sending Nicholas to get closer to her. As the Dark Lord tells Nicholas to come in, he says sorry to Sabrina and mentions that he couldn't refuse the task. He adds that the Dark Lord's request came after he had fallen in love with her. Sabrina is unhappy about this, and she then asks the Dark Lord if her dad was also in on his plan. However, the Dark Lord says she's actually his daughter. This shocks Sabrina.
Edward Spellman isn't your father.
And when she gets home, she tells her aunts about it. While Zelda says it's impossible, Hilda confesses that there was a time Diana went to see the Dark Lord when she and Edward wanted a baby. This shocks Zelda, but Sabrina says she'll always be a Spellman. She adds that she won't let the Dark Lord force her to do his bidding. Mary also shows up and offers to help because she believes she deserves to be queen. Following this, they devise a plan to distract the Dark Lord and attempt to kill him. Despite being so close to doing it, the Dark Lord survives and threatens to kill Sabrina's aunts if she doesn't blow Gabriel's horn to open the gates of hell. As she does this, he tells her never to attempt to kill him again. After he leaves, the gates of hell start opening, but luckily the sigils on the floor stop it from opening up completely. This keeps the demons trapped, and as Mary shows up in the mines, she looks surprised to see that the kids did a good job. Elsewhere, Blackwood starts packing his things so that he can leave the town because he doesn't want to bow to Sabrina. Prudence asks about their congregation.
Wait, what about the rest of the coven?
But he says he already poisoned them with the unholy communion. Prudence cannot believe this, but Blackwood tells her that if she leaves, he'll escape from the town without her. Despite this, Prudence runs to the church and finds everyone dying. She then teleports Dorcas and Agatha to the Spellman house. Hilda immediately helps them, but as Prudence says, there are more people at the church. Zelda and Ambrose head there to bring them to the house. Shortly after, Sabrina finds a small cage Edward used to trap a demon once, so she thinks about the possibility of using it for the Dark Lord. Nicholas suddenly appears to her and offers to help.
I can help.
But she says she doesn't need his help. He eventually begs her and says he would never do anything to harm her, so she allows him to help. Mary also teleports Sabrina's friends to the house and mentions that she now thinks they can defeat the Dark Lord since the gates of hell are still closed. Following this, Sabrina devises a plan to trick the Dark Lord. She then tells Mary to inform him that everything will still go according to plan. After a while, Sabrina willingly goes to meet the Dark Lord to complete her coronation in front of masked witches and warlocks who are pretending to be demons from hell. The Dark Lord enjoys the ceremony, but during their dance, he notices the guests chanting spells at him. Before he realizes what's going on, Sabrina tells him to remember her name as the one who beat him. Just then, Ambrose throws the cage and traps the Dark Lord inside. Unfortunately, he breaks free, but before he attacks Sabrina, Mary restrains him. She then mentions that they'll only be able to trap the Dark Lord inside another human body. Nicholas immediately says he'll sacrifice his body, but Sabrina mentions that she can't let him do it. However, he says he's doing it for her. Just then, Mary traps the Dark Lord inside Nicholas's body. He passes out immediately, and as Sabrina asks what will happen to him,
What happens now?
Mary says he'll have to be taken to hell with her. After a while, Mary leads them to the front of Hell's gates and collects her crown from Sabrina. She then says she'll give Sabrina 2 gifts, one of which is to restore her powers which she lost when she killed the Mandrake. When Theo asks for the second one, Mary says they'll see it soon. After this, Mary then carries Nicholas into hell. Shortly after, Zelda and Hilda look at what's left of the congregation. Since there's no Dark Lord to worship anymore, Zelda says it means they'll now serve Lilith. She also mentions that, as the new High Priestess, she'll usher in a new period for the witches and warlocks in the town. Elsewhere, Sabrina and her friends are happy to have contributed to stopping the apocalypse. While they're talking at Dr. C's store, the real Mary enters the store and looks confused. Sabrina sees her and immediately asks what's wrong. She then mentions that she just woke up from a very vivid dream. As she walks away, Sabrina and her friends believe that Lilith's second gift is to return their favorite teacher's body. Sabrina then says that she has a new challenge for her friends, and as they ask what it's about, she says she wants them to help her save her boyfriend from hell.